What's going on, people? Welcome back to another John Sinclair TV, back again with another scout report. And I've got with me Alex from Canada, I believe. Is that right?
It's close to Canada. It's Buffalo, New York. So the western part of New York State, but just a stone's throw from the Canadian border here. Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic stuff. And welcome to my channel, Alex. And it's good to see another overseas fan, Newcastle United. And it's absolutely fantastic. And guys, if you like the video, like what you watch, make sure you like and subscribe. And please make sure as well, if you can you share the content as well? Because it's another cracking scout report as well. We're going to talk about Timo Livramento. And breaking news today that the fee has been agreed between Newcastle and Southampton. It's going to be a deal up to 40 million quid. Sky saying 32 million pound as well. And obviously Southampton were relegated and they were always going to sell if the money was right as well. So Alex, Timo, this guy, last season he played 28 games in the Premier League and I think he scored 1 goal. And then last season he's only played 2 because he had an ACL and he had a long-term injury because of that. And now he's back fit. And is that a good signing? Because to me, I think it is.
Well, yeah, to me it is. I mean, everything I've seen from him, the obviously limited game action he's had, but also just everything you read, he really seems like Eddie Howe's kind of player. He's very fast, very pacey, very athletic, and
Yeah.
he's kind of flexible in where he can play. Obviously, he's primarily a right back, but he's also played a bit in right midfield, and he can also switch over to left back. So that natural athleticism as well as the positional flexibility, I think it's a great signing for the direction this team is headed.
Absolutely. And when you look at the stats as well, look at the strengths and weakness as well. We're going to go through figures in a bit as well. The strength as dribbling, he's very fast. Concentration levels is fantastic as well. And also ball interceptions, he needs to give him like a book, this guy. And everyone's calling him the next Gareth Bell.
Yeah, I don't know about that. It's always hard to tell, when a guy's this young and especially with the injury. But yeah, the speed is absolutely there, and again, it really fits the style you kind of see us building on. Those quick attacks, down the right side. We saw a lot with Trippier and Almiron this season, as well as Bruno getting involved down that right side. So he kind of fits the ability to do that, especially if we can play him on the left. It sort of gives us options if he's going to play opposite Trippier or if he's just going to be more of a fill-in for him. Even then, we don't really lose much. Whereas, if Trippier ever gets injured or is out, for whatever reason, you kind of take a step down. I think with him, he's a pretty worthy replacement and a worthy fill-in at this point.
Yeah, absolutely, Alex. And also, he can play not just a right back, he can also play left back as well. And he can also play in the centre of the defence as well. So you're getting a player that is free for the price of one for that sort of money. And he's 20 years old. He'll be 21 later in the year. And you know what? Eddie Howe likes this player. And he could be a long-term replacement for Kieran Trippier. However, as well, I think we could get 10 years out of this guy.
Yeah, without question. And like you said, I think we know by now when Eddie Howe likes a player, he's gonna get him. And usually when Eddie Howe likes a player, there's a reason he likes him. So, you see what he did, even with a guy like Joe Linton, switching positions, he gets the most out of his players. And I think he's really going to be able to work with Livramento and get the most out of him, whether that's at right back, whether that's at left back, whether, wherever he has to play, I think Eddie's going to be able to get the most out of this kid's potential.
Absolutely. We bid a 15 to 20 million quid and I got knocked back out of hand by Southampton. Do you think £40 million is a lot of money for a guy that's only played 2 games last season? He had an ACL. Yes, I know that he's a young lad. He can recover from that as well. When he come back from an ACL, it's better. It's better now than it was back then. And they got all this technology. They got all the stuff you can get better with as well. Is £40 million, Alex, a lot of money?
Well, to you and me, it is obviously. It's tough these days. The prices just seem to keep going up on players. When I started following the team, even just back in 2015, it was 40 million was like for the top players, and now it's triple that. So 40 million for a young guy who, like we said, can play a bunch of different positions, who has all the tools you want to see at this stage in his career. Injury, obviously, that is a concern always, but with the improvements we've made in terms of even just the medical staff at the club, the treatment facilities, things like that. I think if Newcastle were seriously concerned about that, they wouldn't have paid the 40 million for him. So I think, yeah, it seems like a lot, but I think it's going to be another one of those things where in 2 to 3 years we're going to be like 40 million, what a bargain.
Yeah, you got to trust the process. That's what we call it at Newcastle United. Trust the process, and once you do that, then you're not going to get far on at all whatsoever. Because we have not made any bad signings since the new orders came through the door. They check out the references, they check out the character, are they going to fit into the team? This guy is so level-headed. When you watch him, so level-headed, and he just loves the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, he just, even from that mentality standpoint, he fits what we're trying to build here. I mean, you see, if we want to call him, the long-term replacement for Kieran Trippier, you talk about that level-headedness, and you see Trippier just exude that on and off the pitch. And if you're bringing in a 20-year-old who can learn and grow from a guy like that, who has a
Yeah.
similar mentality and similar skills, I think it's just going to be a great fit.
Fantastic. We got this stats now. It says Valentino Livramento is actually Timo Livramento as well. There you go. We're going to check the stats as well. If you look at the data of last season, he only played 2 Premier League games. We can't really judge that, unfortunately. Yeah, but what he did, we said he played 28 games of 2022 season. And if you go down, if you look at his defensive stats, they look really, really good. You look at the highlights in green, it looks really, really good. I'm not going to be bothered about the clean sheets as well. Aerial duels 1, I ain't bothered about that at all. But if you look at his tackles as well, 6.92%. Interceptions, close to 7%, 90 out of 99%. Ground duels as well is quite good as well. Ground duels 1 is great. Clearances 10.38. That's his defensive stats right there. There's plenty of greens there, right? Defending, yeah, I think he's a good defender. He can defend as well. Going forward, like I said, it's been really, really good for me, Alex.
Yeah, and one of the things a lot of people have been talking about, towards the end of last season and into this preseason is, sort of some of the lack of pace we do have in the back end. Obviously, Trippier is pretty pacey, but other than that, you don't have a lot of guys with the speed that he has. So, if we can get a guy like that in there into the regular lineup, I think, along with his defensive stats, he seems just as solid as, like Botman or Shar are in terms of straight up defending. So, and even Dan Burn. So if you can get a guy who can do this and have the pace to move the ball and get us going on the attack, again, I just, as you're indicating, it looks like it's going to be a great fit.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just take a look at his assist, passing, and chance creation stats as well. Look at the passes, 72.69% per 90 minutes again. Successful passes, 51.92. That's 94%. That's quite good. Passes is good as well. Key passes and crosses is none because you can't judge them really from last year. But if you look at that, those stats will get better in time. I mean, Eddie Howe will work with him. It'll make it a complete and better player as well. And if you go down to the dribbling side as well, offside stats as well, dribbling is for me 6.92. That's 2 dribbles per game. Successful dribbles is 2. The Spurs is really good. Offside quite a few times. So look at it. So that's not great as well. But if you look at the dribbling side, he looks really good. He looks really good. And he'll just get back. He's 20 years of age.
Yeah. He fits the age profile, obviously. And, it's really, I think right now with the price tag attached, and the lack of game action we have to go off of because of his age, because of the injury. But you look right now at even a guy like Anthony Gordon, 40 million on him too in January, and a lot of people were kind of scratching their heads. They're like, well, yeah, he's pretty good, at Everton, but how good is he really? And now even in this preseason, everyone's like, oh, it's like a whole new signing, So the thing is, we bring these young guys in, and I think Eddie Howe does just an incredible job shaping them, and again, really just bringing the most out of them. So with all these incredible underlying stats, the good stuff is there already, and I think working with Eddie, working within our system is just going to be make them even better. And really, again, in 2 to 3 years, we're going to be saying what a bargain this guy was.
Yeah, what we don't want at the football club, so as prima donnas as well, our football club, like I said earlier, we need players who's going to have a good character reference and good attitude, like sort of level-headed as well. I mean, look, he's 20 years of age, yeah, and you know what? I think he's going to take over Kieran Trippier's place in the future. And I tell you what, he'll be playing for England 100%. And you know what? Chelsea, I don't think Chelsea are happy because they want to get this guy back. But we got there first. We were persistent, consistent. And you know what? He wanted to come to Newcastle. You could just tell by his attitude he wanted to come to Newcastle. And if you come to Newcastle, then the sky's the limit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, even going back looking at Trippier, he was the first one to sign on to the project. So, with Livramento sort of learning under him, learning from him, he's going to be able to tell him like, hey, look, I came here, under the threat of relegation, but that was because I believed in what the club could be, what this project could be. And now, look at where you're jumping in. You're already, at this point in the process, Champions League's nights back at St. James's Park, and just being able to see the atmosphere at full throttle. I'm sure he's probably going to be here to see an expansion of the grounds and all the building they're doing around the training ground, new training ground, everything. So, I think him being able to see this at such a young age is really just going to help him flourish as a player and as a person.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, how do you think the link-up play is going between Timo and Miggy, or Timo with Anthony Gordon? I tell you what, I think those two of those three is going to link up really well. I really do think that.
I agree 100%. I think once he really gets into the system, gets back up to full fitness, I think whether he's playing for Trippier or we get him in on the left side as a left back, I think it's going to look exactly the same, as it does with Trippier and Miggy right now. Just those quick 1-2 passes, getting in behind the defense inside dangerous scoring areas. I think his skills are very similar, and they're going to really, really fit kind of what we want to do more on the attack, especially again if he's playing some games on that left side. We're going to have options then. It's not just going to be down the right with Trippier and Miggy. We're going to be able to go down the left too with Livramento and Gordon, or Livramento and Barnes, or whomever, and really kind of be able to throw a lot of different looks at teams this year.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. His weakness as well is, in my opinion, I watched him a couple of times, is holding on to the ball too long, and that is the problem. And he does get caught out at times. And if you can sort that out very quickly, then it'll be absolutely fine. But for me, like I said, his strengths and the strong pounces, dribbling, concentration, ball inception, and he likes to dribble as well. And you know what? I mean, like I say, he's going to get better and better. Can you see him in a few years' time play for England? Will it be a regular right back?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. Again, all of the qualities are there, the skills there. You even mentioned, some of his weaknesses, holding onto the ball too long or getting caught out. But the thing that kind of helps offset that is what we talked about before, is he's got a good head on his shoulders. He works hard. So even if he does lose the ball or gets caught out of position, he's going to, be busting his butt to get back into position and get back in the right position. So, I think the positives right now, as far as I can tell, far outweigh those sort of weaknesses, and you can always outwork those weaknesses on the pitch. So I think the way he plays and the attitude he has, he could absolutely be making caps for England probably before we know it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, and when you look at it, I'd rather buy a young upcoming player like he is rather than buy a prima donna. He's definitely not a prima donna. I think this guy is really great. I mean, like I said, it's definitely been agreed as well. Sky Sports are saying £32 million for the guy. but I reckon it's going to be undisclosed fee as well. I can't say any comments on it yet, what the clubs are saying, but it looks really, really good. When the signing's been made, Eddie Howe is going to be coming out and he's going to say some good things as well. And yeah, we'll see what happens on that one. So you've got to be happy with the signing all in. You have to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I remember when it first, the rumblings kind of started a few weeks ago, and I was excited then. I was hoping we could get the price down a little, but again, that's just how football is right now with the prices and everything. So, and if Newcastle, if Dan Ashworth and Eddie are happy to pay it, then I have full confidence that this player is worth that price.
Yeah. Russell Martin, the Southampton manager, has come out and he said that, well, he said something before he couldn't do anything about it. Hopefully, we can keep hold of a few who are attracting real interest, but we have to be realistic as well and accept the situation that a few might have to go to help us, then get a few players in that we really want to help us. And that's Russell Martin, yeah. And he also added, we just have to wait and see. I can't control any of that. I control coaching the players and giving everything we've got while they're here. And that's what we expect in return. To be fair, even the players with a lot of noise around them and a lot of external stuff going on, they've been really brilliant. And a lot of them are young men as well. It's not easy with all that noise going on. So credit to them. Russell Martin says some cracking words, by the way. And he knows the situation because some of these players at Southampton are really good players, and you've got players like Ward Prowse, you've got players like Romy Lafayette as well, and they're not going to be hanging about in the Championship. I just cannot see them at all whatsoever.
No, yeah, and obviously it wasn't too long ago Newcastle was there, and we were experiencing sort of the same thing, selling off Gini Wijnaldum, selling off Sissoko, which I think a lot of people were happy with, but we've been there before, so I absolutely get it. Obviously it's tough to see a club have to go through that, see their fans have to go through it, but he is, he hit the nail on the head in terms of the situation they're in. And yeah, I think they're obviously going to lose a few more. I hope if any Southampton fans end up watching this, I hope, your club figures it out. There's actually, interestingly enough, their former chairman, Ralph Kruger, was the head coach for the hockey team here in Buffalo for a few years, and he was an absolute disaster here too.
Wow.
So, yeah, so a little extra sympathy for them because he managed to run two clubs into the ground in the span of about 5 years. So, in two different sports, which is really impressive. But yeah, so I feel for them. I see where he's coming from, and hopefully, Livramento becomes a player for us and helps them feel a little bit better, and I hope the transfer fee helps them out build their way out of the Championship.
Yeah, and also look at the website. So our EPL Index is saying that signing a player like Timo is a gamble. Really? I'm not sure it's a gamble. I really don't. It's probably because of his injury record as well. I mean, they say it's a big, big transfer, and that comes to consider high risk as well. Nobody would doubt Livramento's talent or potential, but he is not long removed from a very serious injury that caused him to miss over year 13 football.
Well, honestly, every transfer is a gamble, right? In a way,
I agree.
You pay money for a guy, you hope he's going to contribute in some way, whether it's as your starting striker or as a backup center back. You pay the money, you pay his wages, you hope he's going to pan out, and if he doesn't, well, then you lost the gamble. But in this case, again, I think everything we've seen, the way the club has spent money, the way they've targeted and identified players, it's hard to say, like, I think this is going to go poorly because, what evidence do we have that anything they've done so far has under this new regime? So, yeah, like I said, everything's a gamble, but, I think this kid's going to pan out 100%.
Yeah, and also they added as well, we'll read word for word, but Livramento thrives on attack, but has no liability at the basic premise of his position either. Having the pace and agility to lock down the best wingers in Premier League, he's versatile enough to also play left back when needed and has played as a winger during his youth, so could be used further forward as an emergency. All things considered, in my opinion, this is a gamble worth taking. And to me, you got, like you said there, it's a gamble. You got to take that gamble.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to speak to the defensive side of things, I think we've seen, the system that Newcastle plays in, it's as a team, it's as one unit. So, we were able to turn Dan Burn into arguably one of the better left backs in the entire league. Playing, I know he's played at left back, but he doesn't fit the profile of one really, but we were able to work with him, use his strengths to make him, you know, serviceable at that position. So you have someone, you're bringing him in to play his natural position, I would assume, and he's going to be able to work within the system, work with the coaches to bring the best out of him. So whatever defensive deficiencies there may apparently be, I think he's only 20 years old. He's going to be able to figure those out, work with the senior players, work with the coaches, and become a really, really useful player.
Fantastic. Listen, if you give us marks out of 10 for that signing, you said it's a gamble worth taking. Are you happy with the signing?
Bottom line, yeah. I don't necessarily want to call it a 10 out of 10 because that would be putting too many expectations on him, but it's at least an 8.5 or 9 for me. I think this is a can't miss prospect. I think he's just going to be a great player for us for a long time to come.
You got to trust the process, my guy. You got to trust the process, and you got to back Eddie, and you got to believe in Eddie and Dan Asher as well. Listen, Alex, thank you so much for coming on, my guy, and I really appreciate you coming on. And before I let you go, I've heard you backstage. Where can people find you on your social media? Where can they find you on your socials, please?
So I'm over right now. I'm on Twitter. The at is at @AlexNotAnder_. On twitter.com. You can find me there. I talk about, obviously Newcastle, also the Buffalo Bills, the Buffalo Sabres, and a few other musings. So, if you want to throw me a follow and talk Newcastle, I'm happy to do that anytime.
Yeah, what I'm going to put the link in the description as well. After come off there, so I can add you on as well, follow you as well, Alex, as well. But like I said, you've been absolutely brilliant. I told you I've got to believe you anyway about the scout report as well. Maybe I'm going to talk to Eddie Howe about you becoming a scout for the team as well, be our assistant as well.
Well, yeah, we'll see about that. I appreciate that, John. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Fantastic. Anytime, make sure you come back again. And like I was about to say, if you like the video, like what you see, are you happy with the Timo Livramento signing? Are you delighted? Do you think £40 million too much? Are you going to trust this process? And for me, it'd be yes. For me, 40 million is a bit much, but that's the going rate. And I believe in this kid. So tell us what you think, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. Leave your comments in the section.